Hello and welcome back to the FIFA 23 Arsenal Career Mode. We are here today with part 18 of this beautiful series. We are looking to take Arsenal Football Club back to where they belong, at the top of the table, completely undefeated as they have done before under Arsene Wenger. You're going to do it under the guise of Mikel Arteta, through me and through us. So we'll get into the good stuff right off the bat. So it looks like we've got Bodo Glimt up next in the Europa League. I think it's going very well for us in the Europa League. 3 wins out of the 3 games. We will be simulating that one though, because it's not really a major one. With Bodo sitting rock bottom of that Europa League group and us flying high, not really one we need to play. So we'll give that one a simulation. But if we have a look in the inbox here, we've got an invite from the Scotland Football Association to become the manager of the national team, but that's going straight in the bin because I really don't want to do that. A few messages here. Okay, so these ones I've already replied to, but we've got a fresh message from Martin Ødegaard, who's talking about being thankful for what he's saying. I don't know what he's on about here. Really appreciate the chance to play when I'm in such good form. Honestly, mate, just keep it up, yeah? Good stuff. Absolutely legendino. Thank you very much for your service. Okay, so for some reason these boys are massively out of form. Vieira with a -6. Actually, I think that's to do with their positioning as opposed to the form. Yeah, so we'll disregard that. But as I say, we will just simulate that one because I don't really need to be playing it. So this, where is the simulation? Calendar, that makes sense. When is that? So weekly calendar. Lovely, don't care about that. What are we doing here? This is very confusing, isn't it? Month, let's fast forward a month. Okay, so we'll simulate up to the 5th, which is a day before the away game at Fulham, which is the next fixture we'll be playing. So we'll see how we get on against Bodo. 1-2-1, so that's every single Europa League game won in the group stage, so that's excellent. So we'll just skip over to the next day and we'll get stuck into Fulham Football Club. Shouldn't be too much to worry about there. Let's have the youth squad monthly report real quick. Okay, so it's just reporting on Alfonso Mendes, who is not it. To be honest, I could probably get rid of him, but I just haven't done that yet. I haven't got any prospects really coming through in that regard from the youth scouts. I might have to just sack them all off, but we don't need them at the moment, as we have a lot of young up-and-coming talent already in the team. So plenty to look forward to in that regard. So it looks like it's kind of mixed up the first team with some of our second string players for that Europa League game, which is a bit frustrating because I wanted them to play the reserve players, but it is what it is. So, okay, we will tackle Fulham away. So at Craven Cottage, it's a tough game.
The pre-match focus on Gabriel Jesus.
Gabriel Jesus with 16 goals, flying high. Obviously, the record there is 32. It's probably going to be absolutely smashed by Erling Haaland in real life, but as of this current moment, he has not done that yet. But I think he's on 20 something already in about 16 games. Obviously, with Manchester City being a chance creation machine and him being an actual machine, it's inevitable that he's going to get a silly amount of goals, and that's what he has done for Manchester City. It was kind of, I think everybody felt that was the missing piece for Manchester City. And he almost was. I feel Arsenal have really come out of nowhere with what Mikel Arteta has brought to them. And Manchester City really are not hitting it this season, which is very good news for Arsenal and the Arsenal fans. And things have just fallen apart even further with the recent transfer deadline day being a very interesting one for them. João Cancelo, again, kind of seemingly coming out of nowhere, getting a move to Bayern Munich. So, you know, to go from a very esteemed fullback, just received Player of the Year for that position, to, you know, be moved on to Bayern Munich is an odd one. There's obviously been some kind of fallout with Pep Guardiola, and again, there's rumblings of Bernardo Silva taking the same path out of Manchester City, not to Bayern Munich but to Barcelona this time. But again, it's another key figure in that Manchester City team that wants out, and just have to wonder. I mean, there's been a lot of comments from Gundogan and Pep Guardiola about the mentality of the players at Manchester City, not wanting to kind of kick on and get another title under their belt, and I think that is something that is probably very difficult to maintain, especially with kind of leaders that they've lost in the form of Fernandinho, Company. It's been a lot of change for Manchester City. With all of the successes they've had, I think they're finding it difficult to keep the focus, keep the motivation, whereas Arsenal have got much more fight in them this season. And I think that is probably going to be what edges us towards that title ahead of Manchester City. But as I say, it's a big loss. Cancelo offers a lot going forward for Manchester City. Nathan Ake will obviously be a solid player to step in and cover for Cancelo, but he won't offer the same prowess going forward. But with Rico Lewis on the other side, succeeding and taking the place of Kyle Walker, again, there's no shortage of talent, and it'll be interesting to see who Man City bring in to replace him. So we just conceded a goal here to Alexander Mitrovic, kind of bullying his way through the defence and just getting onto the end of a rebound. It's slow. It wasn't even Mitrovic, it was Vinicius. Interesting as to why they're starting him ahead of Mitrovic, but I mean, obviously it's worked for them because he scored, but we won't talk about that. So we'll just try and respond in style, as we have done most of these games. So Jesus slipping through the out here, got to be a goal, and it is. Interesting finish. It's gone in the back of the net, but I was aiming to kind of finesse that into the far right-hand side corner, but he's stuck it in at the near. I'm not really sure what's happened there. Let's have a look at that one again. So Leao into Jesus. Jesus holds it up well and returns the favour to Leao. Yeah, just kind of ends up slotting in at the near post when I was aiming for the far. So Bernd Leno unable to save that. The old Arsenal reject. It was an unfortunate period actually for Bernd Leno. There's a few of the Arsenal rejects here, so I think they also took on Willian, who seems to be in a good vein of form for them actually, but with Leno, he was at Arsenal for a difficult time. It was a time when Arsenal really were not doing well in the league. He did get a freak injury that was caused by Neil Maupay in a league game against Brighton. That put him out, and Gabriel Jesus rifling us back into the lead. So that injury to Bernd Leno gave Emiliano Martinez a chance for Arsenal Football Club, and he stepped in and he did shock a lot of us, to be honest. He's been in the Arsenal youth system for a while, Martinez. I think it was then we kind of realised what talent we had at our disposal. He was shining, and it was a lot of questions as to whether he could succeed Leno, and he did for a time. But when Leno came back from his injury, he was slowly phased back into the first team, and Martinez was, his nose was put a bit out of joint by that, and I think he was kind of had too much talent to be sat on the bench, and he's been more than showing that for both Villa and for Argentina internationally, taking them to their silverware. Just struck wide there from Leao. I thought that was the third. So obviously winning the World Cup with Argentina, as well as the South American equivalent of the Euros, name escapes me right now, but just incredible performances in penalty shootouts for him. He's a bit of a mentality monster. He knows his psychology. There was a moment where it was in the World Cup final, the penalty shootout. There was a lot of gameplay from him, to put it nicely, which obviously has its effect. I mean, there's no doubt about his brilliance in penalty shootouts. Love him or hate him, a lot of people do hate him, but he is effective, you can't deny that. So we are missing chance after chance here. Jesus with a clear one-on-one, just strikes it wide again. Not good enough. We'll have to maybe look at some substitutions if we can't get that third goal, just to give somebody else the opportunity. But we are looking solid here. There's another potential chance there for Jesus. Keeps the pressure on Diop as well to react to it. So Newcastle equalising with Manchester United there, which is beautiful to see. Newcastle being very much a revitalised side under their new owners and under Eddie Howe. It's looking like they're going to get through to the Carabao Cup final against Manchester United as Jesus strikes us into the lead even further. give us that 2-goal cushion now. But yeah, so Newcastle are really looking quite solid at the moment. They've brought in a good few players like Alexander Isaac, and with Eddie Howe steering that team, he's a very good young manager, exciting, and I think he's really made that team a solid force. And there's a lot of rumours of players like Maddison and McTominay coming in to really bolster that team, and they'll certainly be looking at least European football with the position they're in currently. I do believe they're sitting in 4th at the moment, just behind Manchester United, and just ahead of Tottenham Hotspur, and I think that's where they're probably there or thereabouts is where they're going to finish. I think they will drop a little bit into those Europa League places, but European football I think is something they'll be expecting as a minimum, and it looks very likely at the moment, so it's good to see them, you know, flying again. I think they've got a lot of respect from their fans, and they do have a lot of them. They're a club with a great history, and a header there from Odegaard, who are running away from it here. So what we'll do is just make some substitutions, just give some boys a bit of game time. So Eddie Nketiah out there, Emil Smith-Rowe, get him on, and we'll give Martinelli a quick run out as well. Beautiful. Yep, so Newcastle are returning. I think they've got to play Southampton in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. So the other 2 teams who still left in that are Manchester United and Nottingham Forest. So Manchester United have a very strong lead over Nottingham Forest from the first leg, and I don't see that being overturned. So it's looking like it will be Manchester United against the winners of that Newcastle and Southampton tussle, with Newcastle leading that on aggregate at the moment with a 1-0 win in the first leg of it. Be a massive achievement. I mean, it's already a massive achievement for Newcastle to get to the final of the Carabao Cup, but for them to win some silverware again, it will mean a lot to their fans. And they've been through some tough times with Mike Ashley, come a long way since then, and it feels like a new era for them, and that's something fans are very excited about, and rightly so. But just bringing in that, it's just performances, I think, is kind of the main thing which lifts the fans. We've seen it obviously on a much bigger scale with Arsenal. For them to kind of go from what was seemingly their lowest point of not making Champions League football for 2 successive seasons after, you know, having it for so long, it was a low point. It was, and you kind of didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But with what Arteta has brought to the club, with the energy, the youth, the excitement, it's definitely returned to the Emirates, and it is beautiful to see. It's beautiful to be a part of, and in this January transfer window we have been active. We have strengthened in the form of Trossard out wide. We have brought in Jakub Kiwior, the young Polish centre-back from Spezia, as Gabriel cover. So we aren't relying on Rob Holding. Again, another very young player, so it would be good to see his progression. But as of today, actually, there's been an announcement of Jorginho to Arsenal for 12 million now. I think there's a lot of distaste from the Arsenal fans, but I'm not one of them. I think he's a very solid short-term option, and that's what he is. He's been signed on a 1-year deal with an option for an extra year on there. So I think it's sensible, especially if it's to bring in a player who is so used to winning. You know, he's won everything. He's won the Champions Leagues. He's won obviously the Euros with Italy. He's a serial winner, and to bring in a player of that experience and know-how, he is one that will be able to slot into that defensive midfield position perfectly. And it's an area that Arsenal are kind of lacking in, with Thomas Partey potentially getting injured at any moment because of his history of that. It's something they have to be careful with, and bringing in Jorginho will really kind of shore that position up, with Lokonga looking to go out on loan to Crystal Palace. I think that'll be good for his development. I think we're not quite seeing the finished article with Zambi Lokonga just yet. but a loan move to Crystal Palace will certainly be a positive move for him, especially under Patrick Vieira, who we kind of deem as the DM of all DMs. I think his defensive positioning will certainly progress a little bit there, at least under him. So it's a good move for Lokonga, and he's obviously just seen Marquinhos as well, the young Brazilian right winger for Arsenal, with a loan move to Norwich City. So that's another very exciting one. I think he'll get a good amount of game time at Norwich, and to see him have an opportunity to show his abilities in the Championship, which is quite a physical league. I think that'll definitely do bits for his development. But there's so much young, exciting talent in this Arsenal squad at the moment. And a huge kudos to Mikel Arteta and the scouting team for kind of providing this seemingly endless supply of it. There's been a few question marks over potential recruitment. I think the Caicedo deal was, the players' quality is there, don't get me wrong, but the kind of cost of these players. So Mudryk was going up to 100 million, which is when we started to pull out. Brighton seeming to ask around 80 million. It looks like we pulled out of that one also. Well, that's something I have to praise Mikel Arteta on the board on. They haven't been dragged into those bidding wars. It's something that they've refused to do, refusing to overpay for these players. And I think we kind of got burned by that with a Nicolas Pepe deal, and that's not something we're willing to get burnt by again. So it's good to see that we're able to pull out those negotiations when the asking price gets too high. And that Mudryk one, of it being around 100 million euros, definitely was too high. And as I say, with the Caicedo deal, it's a similar one. And I think that with the purchase of Caicedo, that would have definitely put the Rice deal at risk, which is arguably a more important one for Arsenal in the summer. So Jorginho provides that short-term cover, the here and now, to see us over the line, get us through and secure the league. And then over in the summer we can focus on bringing in that world-class winger, hopefully Rafael Leao, and that long-term defensive midfielder replacement in the form of Declan Rice. So we performed very smart business in this window. But the performance in the summer is where we'll really see whether we're the big boys and whether we want to be big boys for the near and distant future. With Declan Rice and Rafael Leao, we'd be a force to be reckoned with, not just in England but certainly in Europe as well. So it'd be interesting to see the kind of desire from the board and how much money they are willing to spend to attain that. So it's been a bit of a difficult start here actually against Newcastle. We are playing our second string team just to give the boys a bit of a run out and let the first team lads recover. But we're kind of struggling to break them down, so it's still 0-0 here, half an hour gone. We are looking the better of the two sides, but there's nothing clear cut being produced from us as of just yet. So we may introduce a couple of the first teamers if this kind of struggle continues, but we'll push on with the boys for now. So Vieira drags the ball forward, slips in Nelson, who drives at his centre back, knocks the ball into Eddie Nketiah. He's got a very good chance and he scored it. There we go. We have it. Does he have a game face? Does Eddie Nketiah have his game face? He does. Beautiful. I'm loving this. It's good seeing all these Arsenal youngsters getting the game faces. Just adds that extra layer of realism to the game. And he's taken his chance very well there. Nelson holding up the ball well, slipping that into Nketiah, who just rockets that one into the back of the net. Very solid finish from Eddie Nketiah, who is obviously stepping up to the plate very much so in real life, with Jesus out with his injury, bagging his brace against Manchester United. Tommy Yasu doing well there. So yeah, we did see some more of Leandro Trossard against Manchester City in the FA Cup. It was unfortunately good finish from Martinelli there. Unfortunately, that FA Cup tie against Manchester City was one that Arsenal were not successful in. It was a very close game. It definitely gave me hope because I think that clash is going to be instrumental to the league. We still have to play Manchester City twice. But a lot of positive to take from that FA Cup tie. It wasn't Arsenal's first team, but it was a narrow 1-0 win by Manchester City. But that could have easily gone either way. We had a lot of good chances that another day would have taken. Leandro Trossard getting a couple of good chances, but he looked very positive overall. As I say, just another good signing in terms of depth. And Trossard is definitely there to rival Martinelli. I think Martinelli has had a game or two where he hasn't looked at his best, and with the introduction of Trossard, it will kind of keep him on his toes. With his top performances for Brighton, it does add another layer of attack to Arsenal Football Club, so it's good to see. And that's what these top clubs do. We have the superstar talent in Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli, but the difference between the Arsenal Football Club of old and those real top teams is the depth of that talent. You know, we look at Manchester City; it doesn't stop. You know, they'll have 3-4 players in each position, which are first team starters for anybody in the Premier League, and that is the kind of depth that you need, especially if you want to challenge for titles on a consistent basis, because injuries do happen, fatigue does occur, and if you have depth in numbers, it does allow you to really push that on for the whole season. But it does seem like there's a big mentality issue at Manchester City at the moment, and Pep is clearing those players out, obviously starting with Cancelo. So we'll see. It's a long way to go for Arsenal, but things are certainly in their favour in terms of the hunger, in terms of the desire shown by the players out on the pitch. It's not sure if it is now or never for Arsenal, but now is certainly a very, very good time to be where they are in the league. Next season will be very different. I'm sure Arsenal will be contending with Liverpool and Chelsea again. I don't think they will stay underperforming. Good strike, but good save. It's kind of inevitable that Chelsea and Liverpool will be back amongst it. And with Manchester United looking revitalised under Ten Hag, there will certainly be a challenge as well. But Arsenal seem years ahead in terms of their product at the moment. The kind of main concern, I think, is Manchester United for next season. And with a couple of superstar signings, it's no telling what Erik Ten Hag can do with that team. And as I say, they're kind of basically confirmed to be through to the final of the Carabao Cup. So not the most prestigious bit of silverware, but it is still silverware for Erik Ten Hag, and he will be more than happy to take that one home, I'm sure. And as will the Manchester United fans after a difficult few years for them. Yeah, it'd be a big achievement. So we are really starting to turn on the control here in this game. Definitely in terms of possession, not so much in terms of chances, just unable to find that final ball on a couple of occasions, but seem to be slicing them open with relative ease.
The Magpies pushing forward with options available.
But they are pushing players forward, and we are only one goal clear, so we'll have to look to really seal the deal, hopefully with the counter-attack here. Martinelli dragging the boys forward, just holds it up, looks for a bit of support. Kieran Tierney knocking it into Zinchenko. It's a good run through the middle there from Fabio Vieira, who slots that home with the outside of the boot. Beautifully taken, and it just seemed to open up for him there. I'm not sure what the defenders were doing. They didn't seem to be present. And Fabio Vieira took advantage of that gap that Zinchenko found for him. It was well taken in the end. So the centre-backs split with Nketiah and Nelson out wide there. Really spreading the centre-backs, and a good strike from Vieira to capitalise on that. So 3-1. Good performance here from our so-called second string. Again, talking about that depth, it's something that Arsenal is certainly getting. and must continue to add to that. Can't rest on our laurels now with a bit of success there. And Nketiah strikes straight to the goalkeeper. Denied by Pope Francis. No, it was Nicholas Pope. Nicholas Pope. I think he's called Nick Pope, ignore that. Newcastle really not showing much threat here. Not sure what that was. Good from Tomiyasu. Diving header at the last minute. Could have gone anywhere, but has worked out in our favour. So Martinelli chinks inside. Beautiful. Smith Rowe turning on the sauce here. Lobs that into Eddie Nketiah, who strikes one. That is into the back of the net. Pick that one out, boys. That is that. It is Saul Oler. Beautiful, lobbed in from Martinelli. And right into the back of the net by Nketiah. Arsenal 4, Newcastle United 1. So this one was a bit of a tough game in real life. This was a unfortunate 0-0 bore draw. Arsenal certainly looking the better of the two teams, and they did have Newcastle pinned back for a lot of the game. Just unable to find that breakthrough, unfortunately. So it's one of the few games that Arsenal did draw, because it doesn't seem to be Arteta's thing. He doesn't like it. It's either a win or a loss, and it's normally a win, especially this season with us only losing the one game. So good performance from the lads. I say second string, and for us to come out 4-1 on top of Newcastle United is big performance. So a huge shout out to those reserve boys who were certainly pushing for a starting position in the squad. So up next we have PSV in the Europa League. So, but we will tackle that in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon.